So last week we did our first logo. We put some materials on it. Actually, we defined surface and put the materials on it. So how to output to a file? Either an image or an animation. On the top tabs here, we go to record. Now we have some choices for the render display. That's the display that we both see. We see both the surface preview. I'll talk about that later, and our output, rendering output when the rendering is done. So here we have some choices. We have video toaster, 6-bit ham for the ECS systems, OCS ECS systems, 8-bit ham for the AGA systems. Then we have Picasso and CyberGraphics. The next field here is save animation. Again, here we have some choices. The first 4 are for video toaster. So for those of you that are lucky to have an NTSC video toaster system, I'm very envious, but not that much, because I live in Europe, so we have a PAL system, so the video toaster would work anyway. After that, we have 6-bit ham animation, 8-bit ham animation, and there's this, 4x storyboards, film expand storyboard. Those 3, the last 3, I haven't even tried them yet. I actually I've never used them because I make my storyboards in another way. Actually, I don't even make animations through Lightwave, because let's say if I choose to do an 8-bit ham anim, Lightwave saves it only on a set resolution, which is 752 times 576, and this is fixed. You cannot you cannot control it. You cannot say save a low resolution animation. Plus the most dangerous part is that, let's say you have an animation of 300 frames, and during like the 8th frame, when you made your animation to render during the night, and you go to sleep, and during the 8th animation your machine crashes, and you actually lose the animation. You lose everything, because the animation has to actually the file will be corrupt, so you can't actually you cannot save your work up to that point. Your machine will have crashed. That's the biggest. That's the biggest like most dangerous thing that can happen if you want to save only as an anim. Again, it's also inconvenient. So if your machine doesn't crash, which our Amigas are very, they are quite famous in being stable. Even if you do your animation will be rendered on a 752 times 4 times 576 screen, regardless if it is low resolution, high resolution, or whatever. So imagine having a high resolution animation with low resolution rendered pixels on it. So it's not that much of a convenience, because if you try to play back if you try to play it back, you're gonna be having let's say a low res animation with a high res resolution. So there's no benefit there, for example. So the safest way to save our work is during the image saving. Image saving, not shaving. And I can explain that actually here. Save RGB images. If you click it, oh, that's my Amiga when I have an error. Oops, again, sorry. So let's see why that happened. Anyway, that's because I don't have a directory called with this name. Anyway, so here I can navigate to a directory I want to save my work in. Let's say webcast here and output, and I want to name my logo. Okay, I usually put an underscore or a bar here, so, and I'll show you. Okay. Here we can control how my files are going to be saved, which is with or without without extension, and with 3 or 4 digits. Okay, and here I have an example of how my files are going to be named based on all this I've chosen. Okay. Now we come to the file type part. As you can see here, I have aside from 24-bit IFF RAW, I have also Targa. I have 6 and 8-bit ham. I have Alias, BMP, Cineon, IFF earlier, JPEG, PCX. I have also TIFF, TGAs, and all other. I have a variety of file names to choose or file types to choose from. The thing is that these the majority of all these are part of a plugin called HIIP, which I'm going to show you how to install right now. You go to options, and right here we have add plugins. And now I have a warning here that says new plugins should not be added unless the scene has been cleared. Proceed with adding plugins. Yes. Okay, and now I navigate inside the Lightwave, my Lightwave installation, where I have a plugins directory here. I go in, and I think I would say, no. I have it here. AMI HIIP version 2. So you have it in this form. Otherwise, you might find it on your layout. So it's gonna be heap load, heap save. This one. These two. Sorry, these two. So heap load, heap save. And let me see, it's the same. R16572. No, this is newer actually. Anyway, interesting. So if you double click on that or click open, you say you can see a window saying plugins have been successfully loaded in the database. And you have to do the same for heap save. And now because I did the same thing for I actually did it now twice. Once because I have it already, and this is the second time. So I have the same thing but twice. So I have to clean my system. Okay. Do a quit. Now load again. See if. Oh, great. Anyway, you are going to be having it just once. If you want to work on your Amiga, if you want to make an IM file, then the best choice, that in my opinion exists here is the 20-bit IFF, because you have a 20-bit file that saves all that has all the information, and from then on you can have you can make an animation, render it via image effects, and then bind it together to an anim using various methods. Anim lab, image effects again, our department pro, I think. If you want now, if you let's say if you want to bind your animation in, say, Premiere, if you're working with WinUAE and want to export it to Premiere in order to do a YouTube video, in my opinion, the best choice would be what I've been using also throughout the years is the TIFF file type, and then you can open your you can open I think there's a choice in Premiere, both in Premiere and Cinelera, if some of you are doing Linux film editing. There's Cinelera that it has also open files as TIFF sequence. So it goes in the directory. If you choose just the first one, it will identify all the other files, and they are incremental order. And if you have yes, as a bonus, if you have already saved as 24-bit IFF and wish to export it to export your work to Windows or Linux, there's also I think there's a GIMP plugin that you can convert 24-bit IFF to and load your work on GIMP, your images. It can be tedious if you have an animation, like 700 frames or even 30 frames. If you have a 30 frame animation and load each one manually, I'm not sure if GIMP has a batch loading and saving, but yeah. So there are ways, and there are ways even through Lightwave. You can have everything saved onto 24-bit IFF, then load everything as background, render with nothing more on your scene, and save again as TIFF. So even Lightwave can do like some primitive post-processing. So you're not missing much here. You can do it through your Amiga. Are there any questions regarding file saving and file loading, especially when saving your images? I can wait 5 minutes on the chat. Yeah, that's true. In theory, yeah. But yeah, you might find some errors, or actually, there's an interesting a thing happened to me on Friday. I had this heavy scene that even on WinUAE, on FSUAE, actually the one I'm on right now, it was like 8 hours per frame. 8 hours. It actually, I had to wait 8 hours having the computer on to save an image. So what I wanted to save both oops, sorry again. I had to save I wanted to save both RGB and alpha images. I wanted to do some transparency work on the image, and I waited 8 hours. And actually, I had the TIFF choice here for both the RGB image and my alpha image. And I can show you actually what can happen when you can have this combination of choices here. Sorry. I'll do alpha. And here, let's say color. And we'll just save or try to save a black frame. So let's say manual. When I press render, I have both save images on, save alpha on. And I have a plugin image saver fail about rendering. I said yes. Another thing that can happen is maybe I have had the wrong choice here. This TIFF one. This one. There. Yeah, the same. So you can have this small errors. That's why I choose Targa sometimes when I want to save both RGB and alpha images. So yeah, just do test renders without your scene to see if this combination of file formats works for you. Scene and object files, what do they contain? What information is there for us to understand that when we save something, how we save the whole scene, or have we saved parts of it, you know? So as we said again, when we want to save the object, let's say that an object is an actor, you know, like a Hollywood star. We have instructed this actor with a scenario, and we have told him, okay, I want you to be the gangster for this film. So in order for him to remember the day that he's going to come to the shooting, that what his role is going to be, we have to actually save him as an object, because his role is with him. Let's say it's his responsibility. So a material is an object responsibility to save on. So that is why we have to save object as together with saving the scene. So save all objects all the time, together with saving the scene. I mean, it's like there should be one button, but it can make sense because you have an object that you can use again and again to other scenes. So if you change the scene but the object remains the same, the material follows that the object. Okay. The scene, however, has all the other information, where each object is going to sit, the motion is going to be doing, all our lights, if there's going to be any lens flares, if there's going to be camera movements, light movements, everything else, except from objects and materials and the materials. Yes. Any questions on that? Aris is asking if I have to pick a different type when I can save on both Amiga and RGB. Not always. I think. Just wait a minute, because I did some there. Let's see. I think Targa 32 works good for alpha, and let's see, Targa 32 for both. Just make your own experiments regarding Targa and TIFF. If I remember correctly, TIFF as color and Targa 32 as alpha works great. Let's see. No, abort rendering, yes. I may have messed up my my installation, because I did, that I reloaded the loaders and savers again. But anyway, I can fix that later. Okay. Now let's do something interesting. All this theory is boring, and I can understand that. So let's go to modeler and load up our logo when we did our logo. And here, webcast. Objects. Oh, where is it? There, one. Golden logo. So we have our logo. Right now, let's say I have an object that has materials on. Okay, so it has also the information that the logo is gold. This is important to remember, because if I assign a new surface right now, I'm gonna mess with the old material information. Let's see. Was it the one? Yes. Okay, let's do some polygon selection. Space once, and then I have a change mode to polygon mode. And let's say I want to work on my front side. So I zoom in with my period key there. And I use my lasso with my right mouse button. And I choose my front, all the front polygons. So I can still work with that, but this this view here is very messed into regarding all the other polygons that exist on the back side. So what I can do is select a portion of my object and hide the rest of it. So if I go to the display and right in the bottom, visibility, hide selected, hide unselected, and unhide. So I want to hide the unselected portion of my object. So the object is not ruined. I haven't split my object right now. And in this way, I can also surface I can define surfaces without splitting it, actually. So now I'm free to work, say here, I'm free to work. I can see that I have only a plane of points here that I can freely edit without without messing the other points on the same axis that I may select. I may select out of mistake. So display. Once I'm done, I don't want to ruin. I took okay, undo. And once I'm done, I'm hiding it again. Okay, so my object is there. So again, selection, hide selected, for example. I want to hide this one, and unhide or hide unselected. Let's say I want to work here. Hold on, there. I want to work on these 6 polygons here. I want to hide my unselected part, so I have only this to work with. See, it is a kind of a clear. It's a nice tidy way to edit objects. And unhiding. And again, you can find your oh, page down doesn't work. If you press either press page down or help on your real Amiga, you can actually see the hotkeys for that. Here. I'm gonna show you now. If we bevel too much, what is going to happen to our object? So this is something that can happen way too often, and it's something that can actually we can fix it quite easily, as long as we know what went wrong and how we can what tool we can use to fix that. So let's say Amiga, the text Amiga, some so I have this nice little text here. I'm extruding it. Wow, nice 3D nice 3D depth. I'm choosing first the front ones, the front sided there, front sided polygons here, and I want to extrude them and make them like more round. So let's zoom in now a bit more here. There, you can see everything there. Okay, and I call up bevel with B. Right now I would be counting how much I want to go towards. Okay, let's do a test. My grid says I am 50 millimeters per rectangle here, so I will choose 10 millimeters and 10 millimeters for shifting it. So as you can see, it went well this time. Okay. If I exaggerate a bit, and say, okay, inset, my inset, like if let's say put 30 millimeter. So my inset is steeper than my shifting the polygons outwards. So right now, what you can see here, this little dot here, it fared quite well, but the rest of the object, if these points should continue beveling, they should overlap each other and your polygon would actually be flipped. This can be more prominent into curves. I can show you right here. There you're going to you starting to see what is happening actually here. So you start to overlap if you exaggerate a lot. Let's do it step by step. First, I'm doing an inset of 10 by 10. Okay. And then I go on and I want to say I want my inset to be steeper. So I recall bevel again and say here I want to do 20 millimeter. There. And now you see things are starting to overlap. This is something, actually, this is something you wouldn't want to try on this kind of no, this is about the font to try this on. So here this is all messed up, but let me try another font. Usually this happens to fonts that have more. There comes. Yes, this is the type of font I was looking for. Great. So let me do the same steps again. Extruding it and then choosing the here bevel 10 10. And see now I'm gonna inspect how my font fared, because that can happen. Yeah, there are two. There's too many overlapping here. So how to solve this? First of all, I am there. First of all, I can use the measure tool here to let's say, okay, I want to count my inset. Let's say 2 millimeters, because this logo is very thin. Okay, so I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go incrementally and do a 2 millimeter inset first, and then 3 more. 2. And then 3 more. Actually, that was too much. Two more. Great. So there I'm measuring. Oh, hold on. There. So this has survived the test. So see, it hasn't. No, the points haven't overlapped each other during the beveling process. Here is where we might be having problem. There. Oops, sorry. No. There. So here I have a problem, for example. So here. So now what I'm doing, I can actually hide my unselected polygons. so that I will be able to work with them. Those, the ones that are affected. Okay. And then I'm gonna try, actually, this is like this is font harassment, because you wouldn't want to do that on a logo. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm gonna trying to put things to the correct order here, but yes. Hold on, let me hide everything now. So you have a problem here. There. There. So before you do that, you actually you take measurements. You say, okay, I have one. You cannot go too far with that. So only 1 millimeter more. So let's yes. Oh, you saved it just to what the it's on the edge. And inspection, and everything else seems right. Another thing that can happen. Okay, so bevel is we measure so that our bevel would not overlap, and then you have flipped polygons and errors in your rendering. Let me see. Not this one. I want to find a logo that has. There's another phenomenon you can encounter during the logos. Let's say Times Roman, maybe. Maybe this one. Yes. Okay, let's see now. Extruding. Great. And then selecting and focusing again with Shift A. You can see here, I want to see my screen there, fixing my working place so that to show correctly. I want to see the edges here, there. We are going to be having a problem, even if my logo is not that much. It's not that thin as the previous author logo. So let's do. First, we can count. We can measure. Let's say I want 10 millimeter. Let's start with 10 millimeter bevel. So there. That's the phenomenon. That's the error I wanted to give an emphasis on. So here you have an overlapping of on a logo that's not too thin, but it is thin on some parts. And what can you do actually? You can actually, what you want to do, because that doesn't happen in the whole in every letter. It can happen in some letters only. So on the viewport here, you see there's an error. It's messy. It has tried to here, and I can show you. I put it to moving. So you see here, this is a mess. But Lightweave shows us that there is a junction here, that there should be a junction over here. So what I usually do, I take, say, the first point located right next to my junction, Go to point mode, choose it, and then modify and move. And I'm moving this point here on my junction carefully. There. Okay. The problem remains, of course. So the next tool I'm going to use is called weld. I'm going to weld all the offending points into this little point here. I moved on my first step, and I can call weld is here, point weld, on under tools, point weld. And what it's going to do, it's going to weld all 4 points. It's going to make a nice bevel edge here. So you see there's no error here. It's going to render just fine. If I yes, I can also check about if there are any polygons that are non-planar. So I select polygons and press I, which is for info. And now I can see I have chosen 3 polygons here. I have my element count here. Over here I have number of polygons, and each polygon how much. This is the value I'm most interested in now. Flatness. So the flatness limit is 0.5, and over that, over 0.5, I might get an error by the renderer. So next. So everything checks out fine, because actually I have everything is a triangle, so I shouldn't be worried in the first place. So let's do that again in some other parts of the font. Here I have the same thing. Let me hold on. There, I'm focusing there with G, period key, G again to focus even more, and G again on that viewport. There, now I'm focusing. Now my aim point is here. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the static so that I won't have any nausea. I can also hide all these, so I can hide these so they won't stay in our way. Yep, and now I can work free here. So you see that there's an error here as well. So how do we solve it? What I see here, hold on a minute, there, fix my view. Yes. So I have this little curve coming down to meet the other curve, okay, and then I have this other line here to that goes horizontal to the other side. So what I see here, my junction is here. What I do, there's already a point here, so I will use just that. So everything else is selected and used to weld to that to my junction point right here. One thing to remember about weld, the weld tool, is that every point gets welded to the last selected point. So if let's say if I choose 1, 2, 3 and weld, my weld will go to the last selected point. Okay. So however I select all these points that are here, Doesn't matter as long as the last point is the point that exists on my junction. So let's adjust that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and the last one is my junction point. Weld, and I have a nice fine and clean bevel, let's say angle. Yeah, and I can do that if let's say if I want to use I want to use that my font badly, or if I am correcting another object. So weld is the way to go, and I have to inspect all other aspects of the all other, let's say, joints of my bevel, because this happens mostly on my bevel when I'm beveling, and I'm actually insetting say surfaces. So same here, welding, which has the shortcut is Control W. 5 points welded. Same again. I have no problem there. Okay. So this is about beveling is quite stupid. It does know that you know, at some point your polygons are going to overlap, so you have to inspect your objects when you actually are using that, and you can come up with very pretty results and clean results. Actually, see here, and actually, yeah. Let me switch to the chat now, and let me see what you have. Okay, Walker is asking if I understand it right. It gets the points and move them to a single one. Yes, it welds the points to the last one. So the thing is that, yeah, of course, it's right for the object, because you have to have a clean geometry so that it will render correctly, you know. For example, this geometry right here, it's gonna show errors. Okay, so you have to weld to move and weld accordingly. Like it's like fine tuning your object to show correctly on the renderer, and that shows us that it's right for the object. You should do that if you encounter these this folding of the surfaces. You guys have any other question? Great. So let's move on into something more interesting. I think you're gonna like it. We're gonna be doing some 3D logos out of freeform, like pixel art painting. So I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. I made some I made a logo yesterday just to show you. And let's see now where it's located now. It's now logos. So this is something I did yesterday. Doing some freeform logos. Some freeform logos actually. I can see that the chat. Oh, great. Okay. Mid one has another one. So I'll get back to the freeform logo thing. If you do a fast inspection, you have to actually. Let me see how that looks on the renderer. Okay. Say I want to do. I have this logo here, and I export it into layout, and then I have it here, and then I put my camera there. So you can also see that it's going to be an error here. So let's put some. Let's render first. So you see my bevel is not correct here. While at the same time, if I move my camera towards the other way, this is the fixed part of my logo. So this is clean. I think it can all the problem can be seen more, can be more visible if you turn on your shadow tracing. No, it can't. No, but it's you can see actually there's an error here there. You can actually predict that by seeing if your letters are going to be if your letters have thin parts, thin endings, just like that, you know, some calligraphic or some logos that they're trying to emulate printing press font types. But you have to manually spec that if you find it in one place. So your font is definitely a candidate for having these errors. Did that answer your question, mid one? No problem. So let's get back to our. We're gonna be doing some pixel art. Let me quit Lightweight for the time being. Here, quit everything, and go to. I like to use Brilliance. You can use Deluxe Paint or some other program. And let's say I'm gonna be needing just 2 colors and a low resolution. I want to have some pixelated dots here. So I'm gonna be here. So let's say what should we type? Amiga. So this is a text you won't be finding in any font. So maybe you want to follow that approach, so that to make something very original. Okay, let's see there. So I'll put some there. Anyway, say I like it. Okay, so I'll take it as a brush. There, great. Playing around brush, and then let me see if I can double size. I can double size it. I want to have this pixely result here. So I'm going to take that and save that as it is. Save my brush. Logo. Here, Amiga pixel art. Okay, so I just saved this this little brush as an IFF file. So now I'm going back to Lightwave, layout, modeler, and when everything's loaded, go to display, background image. There's a BG image here on the display display tab. BG image, load. Again. So logos. There. And Amiga pixel art. So now I have it there, but I want to have it on my face view, because we're going to model our logo on our Z plane. So I'm changing that to Z, putting that to light. So yeah, and now I'm having a guide as to how to model my freeform logo. Okay, so this can you can actually use that tool. You have to use that tool when modeling, say, furniture or vehicles. You can have their blueprints on your viewport. So this little window here, it accepts only IFF, only indexed palette IFF images. As I can see here, my image is a bit distorted, so I will try to put there. I think that's the right proportion. Okay. So this is, again, this is a two-color this is a two-color file, two-color IFF file, and it's preferable to have like black and white. Now, in having multiple images, what I have found is that that feature was in a prolific stage on Lightwave 5. So if I want to have, let's say, the face of a car here, and the side of a car, and the top of the car, you can't do it simultaneously. You actually have to have, say, I'm going to show you how I modeled the Cybertruck. So I had, actually I cannot do that, because each viewport was so customized that I had to input specific numbers here, you know, that I had taken down. The thing is that if your images are the same resolution and the same colors, so you can actually switch them here. Say, I'm gonna load one more. I have a Muadib pixel art, so you can have this one, say there, so you can have it there. But you see the other one disappears. So I choose again. I have to make the necessary changes so that it will stay there. In modern programs, you can have everything, you know. At the same time, you can have all the viewports populated with images. Yeah, anyway, now I'm going to show you how to do some freeforming on Lightroom. So again, we take each letter. Let's say I press G now and fix my environment so that I can modulate accordingly. I'm going to show you just one letter. So Objects tab has some primitives here, and it has also a nice little button called Sketch. Regarding the limit on resolution or number of colors on the background images, that what Walker is asking. There is no limit on the resolution. I think the resolution limit is dependent on the IFF file. If the IFF file itself can take this, can take a large resolution, so it's fine with Lightroom. But the optimal would be to be a 2-colored file. So yeah, if you try to load, say, 256 files, so you're gonna have problems because you will be having like anti-alias artifacts that won't have your image shown correctly so that you can model on top of it. But resolution, no, there's no limits on the resolution, which is very nice because you can have like 300, 600 dpi images that can make your life easier when you're modeling and be accurate on that. Yeah, so object, sketch, and now something interesting here. See, now this is freeforming. Hold on. Yes, sketch again. Now what I press the left mouse button. Say I do that, and press enter when I want it to become like a polygon, which is actually not a polygon actually, but a curve. So we'll go to curves today. Anyway, sketching. Let's start now. What I'm doing is I'm holding my right mouse button. Say that here. Rather difficult with a mouse, but sometimes I'm having my real Amiga, which has a tablet. Yeah, I have a tablet on my Amiga, but not on my PC. Actually, I have a tablet on the PC, but it's not compatible. in UAE or so, I think. So let's say you're happy with that. There's a difference with the left mouse button and the right mouse button. The left mouse button, if I do that and release my mouse button, it won't do anything unless I either press space so that I release the tool, or enter so that I execute the tool, you know, enter here, or space so that the tool gets reset. But with my right mouse button, if I start painting, you know, sketching with my right mouse button and release that, it becomes automatically a curve. Okay. So let me do just that. I delete that. Now I did an outline here on font, on my A for Amiga. Oops, sorry, sketch. And I want to do internal thing, not internal. There. Okay. So let's say I'm quite ready to materialize my A better. Okay. So what I can do here, I have some points that control my curves, and they are actually control points. What I'm going to do now, I can keep the resolution low, resolution meaning the polygon count that will be evident later, by killing those curves, holding my polygons. Now fine-tuning where my, see these curves here, not very optimal. I don't want some points to be there, so let's delete some. And I'm moving some others, which I can do. There's a very nice tool called drag points, which allows me to drag points without selecting them. Very interesting, very convenient. So there with drag, going to be a curve here. Anyway. Details. And now I'm gonna make my points. I'm gonna join my points into a polygon. Now there's a hole here. Let's see if I do that. 1, 2. Remember that I have to continue selecting points by holding down my left mouse button without releasing it. Now I am on select mode. Otherwise, if I release it and press again, it will be on deselect mode. So here, there, I'm selecting the outline. There. Now I want to go further up, but I haven't moved my view so that it will show the whole of my object. So I release the left mouse button, Alt, left mouse button. I drag down my viewport there, and now if I want to continue, Shift. Should be having some mod music. What do you think? Or I can sing. Okay, now I did. Now I've selected my outline. Okay, the way I do it, the way I make all these points a nice polygon, under polygon, and make. So now I made a polygon. So yep, let's see what I did. Did I do anything? Altness limit. So now nothing shows, but my viewports say my viewports they tell me, okay, there's a polygon there. Now I can see that it's facing the wrong direction. So polygons in Lightwave are not double-sided by default, which is actually useful because you can save rendering time by not having Lightwave to calculate the other side of the polygon that's not visible. So, but you have also to be careful how to model. So what I can do here, I can flip my polygon. Under polygons, flip here, last one. So now I can see what I've done. See, there's an A without a hole. Elvis is on next episode, Jarla. Or maybe this one. Okay. Anyway, now all that's left now is I can make the hole on the A. Let's do some fine tuning here. I have some with Control T or drag. Little thing here. Fine. Let's say there. Go down a bit. See how it will. There. Have some here. I want to fix. I can actually fix that later, but yeah. Now I want to plot a hole through my my initial object. So I'm gonna do that. There are several ways I can do that actually. Since I have made the outline into a polygon, what I can do is I can make one more polygon here. There. I can make it into a polygon. You can see here that because they are on the same plane at exactly the same depth, that the renderer here, they're actually my preview gives me an error. If I do it to moving, you can see that looks awful. But there's a reason for that. The reason is that you have two polygons overlapping each other, you know, and they shouldn't do that. So what I can do, I take this polygon, I cut it, and I choose another layer, and I paste it. And what I can do here, I can have my former layer visible here. So I have an outline of my A. Okay. So I can also do it in the opposite. Let me take the image away so you can see clearer. So we have the A, and we have the polygon that can form its hole. So the way we do that, we go to Tools. Not exactly 74 space. The reason that we don't use Boolean is because we don't have three-dimensional objects yet. Rather, we use the drill tool. So if you do the drill tool, you will see that it will actually create an object. Actually, it would create a polygon along the lines that we have on our background layer. So let's do that. Our axis is the z-axis, since we have the face, our face viewport. Z-axis is the one we don't we can't see actually. So, and then I think it's slice. Let me see. Yeah, it's slice. So now we have an A. If I did Boolean, let me try Boolean as well. If I did Boolean, I'm gonna get an error. Subtract. So not error. I mean, it will ignore it completely. So Boolean. Boolean needs a full three-dimensional object to work with, and the three-dimensional tool to work with. I can show that later. Solid drill. Now the difference between drill and solid drill is because solid drill is an intermediate point. It is an intermediate tool between drill and Boolean. You can apply two-dimensional polygons on a three-dimensional object. For example, let's say I have a logo, a two-dimensional logo, and I have a mug, and I want to let's say I want first to define. I want my logo to define a surface on my mug. That is the solid drill I'm going to be using. Okay, what was okay, you say I never feed. What is that, a typo? Anyway, and this is how we made our freeform letter. Okay, and since this is once this is done, we can manipulate it just like. Oh no! Wait a minute. Yes, one other thing I forgot. After we do our solid drill, our drilling, there, we're going to be having two objects. So this is a residue, so we can take it away. So we only need one object, because the other one would be showing on the renderer and it wouldn't ray trace correctly. Great. Great 74 space. 74. What does that mean? Your nickname. So. Okay. I'm going on. Extruding. Just the same. Now I'm going to be doing this one. I'm extending it to 200 millimeters. So there. And now we have our three-dimensional logo. If I choose to do so, it is on this object that I can apply solid drill or Boolean, depending on if my tool that is on my background layer exists in 2 or 3 dimensions. Okay, Volker asks, you still have 2 layers set. Do you have to clear the second one? If you want to save, it's the foreground layer that gets saved. Aside from being in the memory, you know, there's no harm being done, you know, having like several layers full here. So if you don't export anything to Lightwave, you know, it will sit there, you know, it's no harm done. So if I save this one, if I start, let's say I am saving this logo, no, wrong, logos, objects, and say Amiga pixel art. So it's only this layer that's going to be saved. If I want to save this layer too, then I have to shift select it. So now I have 2 layers. If I save now both layers are going to be saved as one object. The second layer is not needed once you have performed your let's say your drilling. So yeah, it's not needed actually. So I can actually delete it or just leave it there. As you can see now, I started using the layers as what Volker noted. So what can you do with the layers? You can have one active, and you can have another one inactive. Okay, it doesn't show right now. If I move my object, you're gonna see that there's something in the other layer as well. Okay, I can have multiple layers on the background, holding Shift and pressing on the bottom side of the bottom, you know, on the bottom rectangle here of the layer. So say if I have something here on the 4th layer, let's say I have an A and so on. So I can have some guides, for example. So I have lots of stuff showing on the background. Now, what else can I do with my layers? I can have them all on, which is kind of dangerous if I accidentally both start editing something here. So it can capture many objects, many assets from all the layers at the same time. So it is kind of dangerous to editing stuff here, and also it can if you save here, if you save right now, it will save all the objects as one object, so you won't be able to distinguish them if you haven't, and especially if you haven't done any surfacing. Another thing that is useful on there is, hold on a bit now, the hotkeys for that for the layering are 1 to 10, 1 to 0 on my main keyboard, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. If I want to have first layer active with layer 2 as a background, I do first I press 1 and Alt 2. Oh, sorry, there, for having the background. For having my second layer as a background. And a very useful thing is that I can invert them with the press of my button, which is, okay, so 1, 2 gets inverted from foreground to background. So that's that can be very useful in more advanced modeling sessions. Now this is Walker is asking a very interesting question. Can every layer have different background images? In this lightweight version, no, actually. BG image is global. So if I do Amiga pixel art here, I'm going to be having it in all my layers, unfortunately. Which is not that critical compared to having all layers occupied, populated with a background. That would be great if you were able to have each axis its respective image. Sorry, its viewport to have its respective image. So it would be a dream, The question now is, if I get it right, is it better to work on modeler on each actor separately? I'm sorry, I don't understand the word actor. Walkero, are you there? What do you mean by actor? Yeah. No, yes. Of course. I mean, you can only work on one thing at a time. Your perception is like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Once this is clear, then you do something else. There can be exceptions, like let's say I have a wheel and I have the spoke rims, I can work with. So you can actually, yes, I'm gonna show you an example of this. I'm gonna be loading on layer 1 the tire for the Cybertruck. Where is that now? Here, Tesla Cybertruck. And I have my left tire, which is here. Okay. Actually, no, this is not the one. No. Anyway, it's on my other hard disk. It's on the real Amiga. The one. Anyway, and on layer 2, I am loading the wheel hub. So now I have 2 objects. Okay, and you can see. So what I can do now, it can be a bit dangerous. I have 2 actors, 2 objects that I'm working together with. I want to see how they fit each other. So I have to do some combined editing, but I have to be very, very careful with that. This is very useful to see if an object overlaps the other object during your rendering. So you don't want that to happen. So you kind of you employ these techniques. Let's see now. So, for example, if let's say I am selecting everything here, and having selected everything, I am Shift and layer 1. Now I have both layers on. My actor number 2 is selected, Okay, so I can do stuff like there. So now I can see they start overlapping. You know, they start. I'm gonna be having errors if I render that. Okay, so but I can also, if the need appears, if should the need arise, I can manipulate common. I can manipulate common areas when I have chosen both of my layers. For example, let's say, okay, and you're going to see the what's the viewport, what's going to happen there. So see, so both my objects are being deformed by that. Okay, so but it's not. I can become a bit confused if I have that multi-layering. I mean, everyone can forget things, you know. You can, start editing and then forget that you haven't deselected the one, number one or number two, and then get into trouble. And the worst thing is that if you have saved and closed modeler, then you don't have undo levels to go back. So you work with each actor exclusively. When the actor is done, you work with number two. If they interact in a way in your scene, you actually you can do some multi editing, multi modeling, but I don't know. It is dangerous. Anyway, any questions with that? Have you? Everyone is clear with the freeform logos? Okay, I will recap. Display, background image, and then I select an image. It would be better if the image is two-colored IFF. Okay, and then using sketch, I am sketching, right mouse button, etc., etc., and I have a curve. Then I kill my polygons with K. I have only points. And then I use point selection tool. Use all my points in order. And when I'm done, I press P, polygon. Okay, then I have my letter here, or whatever I'm trying to do. So the tool for that, objects, sketch. I do my sketching. The right mouse button or the left mouse button and enter gives me a curve. When the curve is selected, I kill my polygons with K. Kill polygons. It's also on the on the requester. And when this is done, killing polygons, I switch selection tool to point. Select every point in order and press P. Or make polygon, same thing. Okay. So this can give a very nice results. For example, I did this one yesterday to show you. Oh, here, there, output. This is the one, I think. This one. This was done using this technique. First, I did some pixel art. Then I did some hold on, some sketching, killing the removing the curve, having only the points, doing some polygons out of them, and then I did some beveling. I can show you actually. There, I can show you first. There, objects. So I have my pixel art here. There, you can see this on my viewport. Okay, so next level, the next stage was my extrusion. I did extrude here. Okay, and right after that, I did some beveling. So beveling there. You can see clear, nice beveling. I had some overlapping polygons, but I solved them by welding. There. And on layout, that would show just like this one. Logos, scenes, pixel art. This is the logo. And the result is this. Oh no, this is 30 colors. You do an interesting technique. You save in 24 bits, then you use image effects to take it down into 32 colors with dithering. And if you look closely, you're going to see the dithering here, but let me load this one. This is a low resolution. It has some nice dithering here. So I can show you there. Very funny way to do logos. And this is actually how the demo groups were doing their logos in the demos, you know. Very interesting. So yeah, that sums it up for today. This episode was kind of long, but I was feeling kind of stressed by doing it only one hour. But yeah, I will try to do a highlight that sums up the most important things, so that if one gets to rewatch it, they won't have to watch the whole thing, the whole 2 hours. Also, Jarla has done a very nice work into putting some let me see if I can show you, into fixing some times for the episode, which you can find under Amiga Raytracers. I don't know, Jarla, if you have a link for that. Raytracing course webcast. Over there. Hold on. So this is the one. This is the great. Thank you, Yala. Thank you. So hopefully the next episodes are going to be having the same format, and that you will also be able to go to the respective subject or finding exactly what you want. Thank you, Yarla, for that. Else, yeah, that's about it for today. If you want if you want to exercise yourselves in modeling, feel free to do a freeform something, be it a logo, be it whatever, and do a nice bevel thingy, and do make some fancy surfaces, play around with that before we go into going in depth into those things, to see what you will discover for your own selves. Great, guys, thank you very, very much. I'm really happy that you guys like it, and I hope I'm not too boring, and my technical problems are going to be solved now. I'm very happy. As a side note, this is the first episode using the FSUAE on the Linux. It's faster than WinUAE regarding ray tracing and how the program is using the resources of the computer. There is some problem not problem. There are some things to be to be wished for on the GUI, but if you can type, if you can edit config files, you will find that it will be a lot faster. Hopefully the technical problems will be tackled with, so the next episode will be flawless. So that's about it. If I can stay 5 minutes more for your questions, so I will be leaving the stream for 5 more minutes.